Chapter 7. He brought his pickup truck to a stop in front of the big century-old farmhouse where Sophie was staying, the home of Bobby Joe McIntyre and his bride, Vidalia Brand. Bobby Joe was Jason, Rob, and Joey McIntyre's old man, and Vidalia was his second wife. There was a story there, but he hadn't heard it yet. Still, the way people caught their breath or touched a hand to their heart whenever their names came up suggested it must be a doozy. Then he got out and went to the door. He'd picked himself up a dark brown suit with a bolo tie, and he'd polished up his best boots. He had a small box in his hand, and he felt a little bit like a high school kid on prom night. And then she opened the front door, and he felt it even more. Her dress was red and hugged her figure. A plunging neckline held his eyes hostage because cleavage. And when he forced himself to look elsewhere, he wound up with his gaze glued to the slit that ran up one side of the gown, exposing her leg to about mid-thigh. She wore a little short silver jacket with it. What did they call that? A shrug? She said, "Nice suit." "Uh-huh." He swallowed hard, almost choked, realized words were required here. Thanks. She hooked a finger under his chin and lifted his head until he looked her in the eye. He broke free of the spell the sexy dress had cast on him. "Sorry, you look so good I temporarily lost the power of speech." She laughed softly. "What's that you have there?" He realized he was still holding the box. "Oh, right. Here." He handed it to her, in lieu of a corsage. "You didn't have to." She opened the box eagerly, though, and looked inside. He'd seen it in the window at the little jewelry store in town. A silver chain with a Santa Claus pendant. His red suit was made of garnets, its white trim quartz crystal. She smiled as if it was rubies and diamonds instead. "This is perfect. I would have bought this myself if I'd seen it." She removed it from the box and handed it to him, then turned around and held up her hair. He put the chain around her neck from behind, fastened the clasp. She turned again, fingering the pendant. "Thank you, Darryl. That was so thoughtful." "I knew you had a thing for the guy, so—" He nodded toward the truck. "If you're ready, your carriage awaits." She walked beside him to the pickup, and he opened the passenger door for her. "I might need a leg up," she said, "in these shoes." He looked down again. Big mistake. The shoes were silver like the jacket-wrap shrug thingy, open-toed despite the cold, and had heels so high they made a man want to climb them. "Darryl?" "I'm here, just calculating how best to negotiate the truck in those shoes." He was still looking at them, and then tracing the slit up her leg to her thigh. Then he gave himself a shake. "I think I might have made a mistake tonight, Sophie." He met her eyes again. "You are pretty clearly out of my league." She lowered her head, blushing pinker. "Stop it." "No, I'm not kidding. Never mind. I'll shut up before I talk you out of it." Then he moved behind her and put his hands on her waist. "Go ahead, hop up. I'll help." She did, and he boosted her a little until she was settling into the seat. He told himself he should have rented a car. Haggerty House was a sprawling and elegant Victorian, every roof and corner bordered in white lights. A single white candle bulb shone from every window. Gigantic wreaths hung from every door. The scents of pine and gingerbread greeted them as soon as they entered, and the soft strains of holiday music drew them further inside. A beautiful octogenarian greeted them at the door. "Welcome to Haggerty House," she said. "Choose any unoccupied table you like and let me know if you need anything at all. I'm Betty Haggerty. Merry Christmas." "Merry Christmas," Sophia replied, loving the place the moment they entered. A spinning mirrored globe spilled red and green lights from the ceiling, painting the entire room and everyone in it in color. Soft holiday music played, and couples were dancing on the wide and spacious floor. "Look at that woodwork. I wonder if it's original." "Heck with the woodwork. Look at that spread," Darryl replied. His eyes were appreciating the food. There were 3 carving stations, and a massive and lush buffet with everything else imaginable. Oh, there's the dessert!" Sophia pointed out several round tables with pyramids of desserts so huge she was surprised their pedestals didn't buckle. "Do you want to dance?" he asked. And then before she could answer, he went on, "Or can we eat first?" "So much for a romantic holiday ball," she said, but she was almost as eager for the food as he was. "Let's grab a table before all the good ones are gone." "Good ones," meaning close to the buffet. "Good ones," meaning close to the dessert. She grabbed his hand. "I've got it all picked out." As she wove her way through the other patrons, all of them dressed in various degrees of country elegant, she noticed gowns and jewelry and shoes and boots and hairstyles with equal measures of admiration. They got to the table she'd chosen, and she let go of his hand, picked up the folded cloth napkin, and draped it across one of the chairs. International signal for taken. He did the same, then took hold of her hand again and tugged her toward the food. Halfway there, however, he stopped, turned, snapped an arm around her waist, and gave her a spin right onto the dance floor. She was laughing, surprised, happy. Come to think of it, she was kind of hitting a new level of happy tonight. "You tricked me. I thought you wanted to eat first." "You called my romancing into question, woman. My stomach can wait." "Ego's bigger, huh?" "Not only that, but who can resist Santa Baby?" She had barely noticed what song was playing, a jazzy rendition coming from unseen speakers. There was a corner section of the room set up for a band, and she presumed they'd start later. That was all she had time to notice, because her face was near his neck, and he smelled like heaven. "I like that cologne you're wearing." "It's called Irresistible. I had to put a claim like that to the test." He looked down at her and wiggled his eyebrows. "How's it working so far?" "Pretty darn well." He was a good dancer. She liked that she could follow his lead with barely any effort, and the way he threw in a dip here, a spin there to keep it interesting. "So you're a doctor," he said. She had known they'd get back to that. The music changed to a slow, romantic number, and she laid her head on his chest and shoulder, clasped her hands behind his neck, and whispered, "Not yet." "Anything you say." He tightened his arms around her, and there were no more fancy moves, just a slow, delicious shuffling of their feet, their bodies melded. His arms around her felt so good. She hadn't felt like this for a very long time. Held, maybe cared for, at least in the moment. Desired. Yeah, it had been too long. When the song ended, she lifted her head and looked into his eyes and wondered what he was seeing in hers. "Let's get some food now, before you faint or something," she said. "I'm close, I gotta tell you. It might already be too late." He took her elbow and they moved to the buffet, helped themselves to warm plates, and moved along, choosing from among dozens of offerings. 3 kinds of potatoes, 6 different vegetable dishes, meat and meatless stuffing, mounds of fruit, and big, fluffy homemade rolls. They stopped by the carving station with barely room on their plates for the juice-oozing slices of prime rib, then went back to their table to sit down and dig in. A waitress came by, pretty and blonde. "I'm taking drink orders and highly recommending Grandma Betty's spiced rum punch. Packs just the right amount of kick, and if you have it early in the evening, it'll all be worn off by the end." "Sounds good to me," Sophie said.
"What the heck, I'll try it too."
She hurried away, and a second later a tray-toting fellow came by to leave their drinks. Sophie took a bite of the prime rib and it melted in her mouth, eliciting a rapturous that was unpreventable. Darryl smiled.
"You keep changing the subject when I ask about your work. Should I stop asking?"
She finished chewing, sipped a drink, widened her eyes, then said, "No, actually I should get it over with. My fiancé, the addict, was using my prescription pad to obtain opiates, both for his own use and to sell, and he got caught. Holy, that first night we met, when I whooped for joy, was because I just got the news that the police had cleared me of any wrongdoing. And then, just last night, I learned that the medical board decided not to take my license." He stared at her, searching her eyes.
"All of that kind of makes me want to track him down and kick his ass."
"He's going to prison. His sentencing is right after the holidays. And I'm fine, so—"
"Are you? Did you lose your job over it?"
She nodded. "It was an elite hospital. I don't blame them." Smiling across the table, she said, "And I'm fine, and I'm here. And it's not a fun thing to talk about at a Christmas ball. Finish your food so we can dance again. And, then let's attack one of those dessert tables." He nodded.
"Your wish is my command."
It was just the dim lighting, or maybe it was the country band playing holiday songs in a slow, sultry cadence that lovers could dance to. It was the dress she wore, or maybe the shoes, or maybe the way that Santa pendant rested right at the V of her cleavage and kept drawing his eye. Or maybe it was her eyes, the way they sparkled in the spinning red and green lights, or the sound of her laugh, or the way her smile reached her entire face. Maybe it was just her. Whatever it was, something was happening to him. He was feeling kind of lightheaded, and not from Grandma Betty's spiced rum. It was like he was under a spell, a charm, entranced by her. They ate and they drank. They danced, and each time it felt a little more natural to press their bodies close, so they were touching from head to thigh while they moved around the floor. Then it happened. They were dancing off their dessert, and he lowered his head just at the same moment she was lifting hers, and their lips just sort of found each other. It was long and slow, and oh so sexy. Then the lights came up. He'd had no idea how much time had passed, but the band was finished and the ball at an end. He held her close beside him and walked her out to the truck to take her home. To his home, he hoped. His room above the Long Branch. His bed where she would spend the whole night in his arms. He helped her into the truck and got behind the wheel, and then he drove them back to Big Falls. As they neared the village, she was snuggled close to him on the seat and he had one arm around her shoulders. He slowed down as they neared the Long Branch. She lifted her head, pressed her lips to his cheek, and said, "Tonight was wonderful, but it's too soon for more. Right now, I mean."
"I wasn't going to ask,"
he said, but he sure had been hoping she'd offer. "It's just, he burned me pretty badly, Darryl. He betrayed me. I'm having a hard time trusting again, and I still don't know all that much about you."
"I'm looking forward to changing that."
He drove on past the saloon but didn't pick up speed.
"One thing you should know about me is that I haven't celebrated Christmas in a very long time, and there isn't much that I thought could budge me from that habit. But tonight, I had a really fantastic time. I didn't even mind the holiday music and all the twinkling lights."
They were passing through the village and then drove out the far end, toward Vidalia and Bobby Joe's place. When they got there, he got out and came around to help her down, only to find she'd already shucked the shoes. She hopped down easily on her own, landing on his toes and in his arms. "I had a wonderful time too, Darryl. Thank you." She fingered the pendant. "For everything." Then she stood on tiptoe and pressed her lips to his. He wrapped her up tight and kissed her back, long and slow. She tasted like spiced rum, only way more intoxicating. "Good night, Darryl," she said. Then she hurried to the front door and was gone behind it before he could even clear his vision.
"Night, Sophie,"
he muttered. Then he walked back to his truck, shaking his head, and feeling as surprised as if a lobster had just crawled out of his ear as it dawned on him very clearly that Sophie wasn't just a holiday fling. He had feelings for her bubbling up all over the place. This could be something he hadn't even thought he wanted up to now, up to the first time he'd set eyes on her really. Just about the same amount of time he'd been lying to her.